Alrighty, I have made customizable terrain brushes. I have two different versions. Yeah, we can have like infinite amount because the brushes have a bunch of different data values. Essentially, we have a painter brush and a replacer brush. The painter paints out and molds the actual mountain shape, as well as randomizes the blocks. The replacer, or I guess I could call this masking, um, or mold and then paint. I don't know. I haven't come up with a name. But basically, this what it does is that then will go ahead and replace the colors. Because brushes have several different data values. I can essentially make presets where you can go ahead and have, hey, this is for mountains. Hey, this is for grassy stuff. Hey, this is for like deep slate, dark caves. And if I get a little bit more complicated, I might be able to add in shading as well as stuff like stairs, slabs, um, anything that doesn't need air blocks underneath it. I cannot make, let's say, dead coral or vines or anything like that, because, of course, I'm using concrete powder. So I would have to then kind of break them up a little bit, which would probably cause issues. But let me demonstrate. We go ahead, grab out our brush, goes ahead, it starts randomizing the blocks. It places roughly 10 blocks in front of you. Now, due to the nature of falling blocks, if you're not careful with it, the blocks will go ahead and, kill themselves and whatnot. Which is why you kind of gotta still put a lot of effort into the actual shape and mold of it. You can see there that sometimes it takes a little bit to update its position and realize that it needs to be falling. It's a little bit finicky sometimes because I'm so close to the void. It'll go ahead and just fall, not completely. You can simply mitigate this by one, not using this nearby the void, and two, probably adding a few layers of blocks underneath it, which I think is what I'm going to do for the shop. Go ahead and mold out the place a little bit. You can also, whoop, now we got that. Whoop. Add in some terrain, add in a chasm, I'm gonna make this a little ridge, make this come up, build this up a little bit higher. I also want this to come up a little bit higher. Build up these little ridges. Alrighty, I think I am somewhat decently happy with this ship. Now, because of the nature of it actually being a circle, you'll have these flat tops. You can try your best to go ahead and not do that while using it. However, I would more or less just likely say, after you're done with the painting and the molding, just go ahead and go back through a little bit with handmade. Maybe make some of these circles a little bit less obvious. Trim this down a little bit here, trim down here, boop boop boop. Move these blocks, boop 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 boop, and there, you've made a much more appealing tip of the mountain. But overall, it still does the heavy work for you, and it does make large structures that are only supposed to be really seen from off inside the distance, or only one side of them, really easy. And then right now I have this set up for mountains. This is a data brush of 1. And if I were to go ahead and pull it out, it essentially does the exact same thing as loading in the actual mold with the concrete powder, except it then replaces concrete powder instead. The reason why I cannot just start out with this is because it does not fall. When blocks do not fall, it'll look a lot choppier, and it'll look like spawn right now, which kind of looks, molded. So that's why we're using concrete powder to go ahead and mold it out first. And go ahead and replace all these. Again, since I'm nearby the void, it's having a hard time with getting these lower levels. We get up to the top, it's much easier. I can make presets of any kind. I can go ahead and show anybody who wants to how to make a custom preset. Only thing that you need to know is that it needs to be two separate data values than the rest of them. And you gotta remember the structure names. It's simply just brush and then the color concrete powder. I highly suggest that you don't use sand or gravel. I don't know if there's any other filling blocks other than those two that aren't concrete powder. Concrete powder is much more diverse because I doubt that we'll be using it inside any builds. But if you're using sand or gravel as example, those could potentially kind of fuck things up when it comes to certain builds, especially if people use the wrong fucking data value and all of a sudden they can't replace with air, especially if there's gravel or sand already inside the area, which means that they might have to clean it up manually. So that's just to account for human error. Of course, like I said, there's some bits which are a little bit meh, to say the least, which I'm going to go ahead and try and fill up real quick. That's another thing. Even though I've already completed this and I've already molded it out and whatnot, I can still edit it, even after I've gotten a full view of the mountain. So I can go ahead and do that, and then simply fill. Try not to drop your brush. Go ahead and simply fill again, and boom, now that area looks much better. So, that's that. You could go ahead and increase or decrease the values of each thing by just going ahead and when you're structure loading it in, changing this. This is the percentage. Right now I have a percentage of 100 red, which I think should be default for each and every preset, as red is a very vibrant color and not one that we're really going to be using all that much unless you're inside another, in which I might just switch it to green. But overall you need some kind of base, otherwise it won't exactly, it'll leave air gaps and it won't look as nice. But using this method, you can make very traversable terrain for the players as well. If let's say that we want a big mountain, we can go ahead and use this, and it'll become a million times more traversable for players. As you can see, mountaintops are still a bit iffy. But overall, that's that. If you have any questions of how to set up the preset, go ahead and DM me on Discord or Xbox, and I'll show you how.